Once again, much to the delight of his many fans. Here is Elvis Costello with his band, and lucky enough to have him in the studio with us tonight. Welcome back to Australia again, and to Nightmoves again. Hello.
Brings out the devil in me being in Australia.
Is he going to be doing most of it?
He's going to be doing all the talking.
He'll be doing all the talking. Usually when there's a tour, an album is released at around about the same time. This time it's a couple of weeks after you leave. Actually, your next album comes out. And unfortunately, it's an album I know very little about. I'm sort of hoping you're going to be able to tell us.
It's an album I know very little about.
Really?
No, it's called We Are the Sex Police. No, it's called Goodbye Cruel World, and it comes out in about 3 weeks' time, I think. I think it's the best record we've ever made, which I don't always believe when you finish. By the time the records come out, I normally find fault with them already. Which is I think it's important to be self-critical, but it's nice to be able to have got one out quick enough that I'm still sort of enthusiastic about it. I haven't found the cracks in it yet.
Yeah.
There will be them there, and people will find them for themselves. But that's, I don't want to be like my friend Jerry Dowers and stay in the studio forever and a day remixing your album until you don't know whether it's good or bad anymore.
Actually, George Lucas, the film producer, made a quote a few years ago, which I thought was a bit stunning. He said, I'm happy if a movie comes out when it's finished and it's around about 25% of what I expected it to be, which I thought was a pretty low percentage.
Well, yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I think that this album isn't anything like the album that I set out to make originally, but I'm quite happy the way it developed, and it should be a thing that's alive. God, it's alive. I think that's important, that it have a life of its own and it can change.
Right. Well, speaking of change, you sort of are renowned for having explored different territories with virtually every album you've put out. Probably the last one, Punch the Clock, brought it back to the base that a lot of your fans are aware of with your music. Does this one take it back out again a little bit, like Imperial Bedroom Pit, for example?
No, this one is more of a group record, if anything. There's no horn sections and girl singers. We've got a couple of guest vocalists on it, but I don't really think they're that apparent. We've got Green from Scritti Politti sings on what I think will be the next single, a song called I Want to Be Loved. That's definitely the single.
He does the main vocal, or?
No, I do the main vocal.
I was going to say.
And he's... well, this is Green, actually. I brought him along.
He looks different in the video.
He does, yes.
Makeup, it's amazing.
Makeup, they can do wonders, actually. This is Daryl Hall. He sings on the other track. No, he does, really. He's singing on our record. And we have a saxophonist, Gary Barnacle, who was in Leisure Process and in Visage, because I really admire Steve Strange, so I naturally got the bet. No, he's really good, Gary. So he plays saxophone, but he's like a featured saxophone rather than a horn section sort of sound. Other than that, apart from those tracks, it's a more sparse kind of record, instrumentally, and I think much stronger songs than Punch the Clock. Punch the Clock, we had made good records out of songs which were okay. I wasn't so much trying to write songs for it, apart from the obvious exceptions. It was more of a record. This is a songs record. Right. Do you understand the distinction?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Well, and that actually touches on something I wanted to ask you about with The Imposter. When you're involved in a project, does whether or not it becomes a huge hit really have all that much bearing with you? Or?
No, I put the records out as The Imposter for the same reason that I became Elvis Costello, to jar people. Yes. Now people have kind of accepted that to some degree, calling myself something else when it's obviously me. Yeah. It just makes them think again, and that's the whole point of those particular songs. Are the kind of songs I wanted people to think again about. So it was important to make them give them a separate identity, because it's not an Attractions record, because it's only Steve on both of them, and Jim Patterson plays on Peace and All Time, plays a trombone.
Right. Well, in talking about commercial success, that's something that you've only just experienced in the United States with I Write the Book, really. As far
as the single's concerned, but there wasn't really a big hit record. Yeah. It was only like 34 or something.
But it's still got there. Have you thought of what it is about that song that made
I think it's a fluke, I think until it happens again, I won't believe it's real. I think the Human League had a #1 record, but look at their career in America. Didn't do anything. It didn't even make that album much of a hit. Punch the Clock as the second biggest selling album that we've had, considering, I suppose the first album was a gold record, but only because of the length of time it's been out, and the fact that it had Alison on it, and all those Linda Ronstadt fans went out and bought that album. Armed Forces was the one which was the big seller most of the way around the world, the biggest one of ours. It's not exactly on the Fleetwood Mac's scale, and Punch the Clock is the next one. So, we've achieved that degree, but we go up and down because I keep releasing records where I want to release, not the ones that are necessarily the best next career step, as some executive might see it. Fortunately, we've always had allies inside the record companies that have understood why we're doing these things for different motives than perhaps some other groups.
You've been very lucky that way, actually. I think.
Well, we've had also equally amount of people that hate us for being like that, but that's their fault,
Tell us about Special AKA. We ran Nelson Mandela a few weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago.
I saw it actually the other night.
We weren't too sure whether or not you'd be coming in, so we thought let's get it to air while it's...
I think it's a marvellous record. I'm really proud of it. We did it in 3 days, which is a real achievement for the Specials. I mean, because they've been in the studio 2 years now doing the new album, and it's called In the Studio. I heard a rumour that Joe's going to remix it again. I can't believe he's going to be so foolish as to do that, because it sounds really good. I've heard a rough tape of it, and there's nothing wrong with it. He just won't let go. And I was drafted in to try and get a single done quickly so that they could release the album, and they needed one more track to complete the album.
Well, they wanted the single before they released it.
Yeah, because they'd already had 2 of the tracks that are on the album had already been singles, War Crimes and Racist Friend, which had received fairly sort of stony kind of responses from the commercial angle, because they were quite touchy subject matter. And the record before that, The Boiler, which dealt with rape, was a very heavy record as well. Nelson Mandela, of course, is not exactly an empty-headed subject matter, but it's because the tune is aimed at the feet as much as the words are to the heart. It goes over in a different way.
Have you ever had anybody tap you on the shoulder somewhere and say, hey, why do you deal with that subject? Keep away from it, or anything? Have you ever had any negative comment on something that's as obviously as political?
I did an interview just before I came away with a woman called Annie Nightingale. They have this program called In Conversation, where they turn all the lights down and give you black coffee and smoke a lot of cigarettes, and you're locked in a room with Annie Nightingale and Kim Wilde, and you have this intimate conversation. And the record Mandela just come out, and she said that she'd got some quite nasty mail from those kind of brave people that always sign their name, saying that she shouldn't be supporting these kind of causes. So I don't know how much mail the BBC might have got from, because there's an awful lot of people that have got vested interest in South Africa and maybe think that they shouldn't be stirring that kind of stuff up. And there's I think, ignorant people that say that, the same kind of idiots that say politics should be kept out of sports say politics should be kept out of pop music. If it's from the heart, I mean, I don't agree with preaching and writing, just speeches in songs. I always write from the heart, and therefore I think Jerry wrote that song from the heart. And I wanted to do it because I like Jerry and I like the group, and it was good to work with them again after 5 or 6 years. But because I thought it was a worthwhile record.
Right. Well, we'll be running that once again in the coming weeks on Nightmoves. We won't be running that one tonight. Before we wrap it up, though, just a couple of other quick points I wanted to cover. You were mentioning before we started doing the interview that you've heard Joe Camilleri's new project, The Black Sorrows.
Yeah, I think that's a fabulous record, and you must go out and buy it. It definitely brings out the devil in you. It's a great record, and it's like you can tell it's his real love behind it, the workings behind it. I've picked up good records while I've been here.
I was just going to say, are there any others?
The Jane Clifton single, I like that, which Joe
was also involved in, yeah.
But I really like the Hoodoo Gurus. I think they're fantastic. I think they're from Melbourne, aren't they? And I Want You Back, it's brilliant. It's not the
Sydney back, yeah.
Are they Sydney back?
Yeah,
I thought they were Melbourne. And I went to see the Eurogliders as well, who were, really, I really enjoyed. I mean, their record, I think if I'd heard it, it wouldn't have been really up my street, because it's very modern sounding, very consciously modern sounding. But they really bring it to life live, and if you see them around, you should go see them, because they play with a lot of, they've got a lot of soul. Great singer, terrific singer.
Yeah.
And that Heaven single I love, I play that all the time.
It is good, isn't it? Haunting song.
Yeah. So it's great to come and actually be able to honestly say, because a lot of the exported Australian music, I'm afraid, doesn't make it for me. The stuff which is internet, from the people that brought you AC/DC and the Little River Band. A lot of people go, oh no more Australian bands for me, and they don't know what they're missing a lot of the time, because the good stuff is lurking there, like it was. Well, I still think it is with Mental as Anything as well.
Right.
They still, their last record.
Well, hopefully
Creatures of Pleasure, was that last?
Creatures of Leisure.
Leisure.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Well,
record.
hopefully you'll take on some sort of ambassadorial role.
Well, I don't
overseas
like to. I get cast in that all the time, and then I get a load of grief off people that don't agree with me.
Yeah.
And they say that you shouldn't listen to me. Yes, listen to them. No, don't. And I resent that. I just say things because people ask you, and I give an honest opinion because I listen to a lot of music, and then somebody comes along and gives you a load of grief.
Oh, look, let them all talk.
Yeah.
I think that's a cue. Thank you both for coming in tonight, and have a very pleasant stay for the rest of your stay in Australia.
Okay.
Thanks, Elvis.
Bye-bye.
Bye.